and beyond, and welcome to the Kitchen of Creativity for another very special episode of Hook Cooks, the improvised storytelling podcast guaranteed to feed a hunger you didn't know you had. I am Mitch the Monster Chef.
My name is Tishbot. Tonight I will play the role of Jack.
And I am Connor, your larder critter. It is time to roll up our sleeves for another shift here in the Hook Cook Kitchen. My fellow chefs will be presenting submissions based on a pre-prepared prompt from our producer Vinny. Together, we three will whip up a world, characters, and a story just for you, before serving up a radio play segment that we call The Plate Up. Got a prompt of your own? Send it through to cooksofhooks@gmail.com or reach out to us on the socials at hook_cooks. Chefs, BFFs, let's get cooking. Jack, what is the prompt?
Tonight it's Smiling Flood.
Smiling Flood.
Smiling Flood is the prompt tonight.
Smiling Flood.
Smiling Flood. All right. I'm excited to see what you've done with this possibly disgusting sort of like immediately like mouth fluids are surfacing to my mind.
Nice.
But let's dive straight into the best before yesterdays. That's right. Before we sink our teeth into the main submissions, it's time for the worst thoughts and the best thoughts, our best before yesterdays. Let's fire it off with you, Mitch. What have you got?
Alrighty, here we go. Smiling Flood. This is what I would call my Halo-themed dentistry office. This or Master Teeth. I'm still on the fence. But, how am I supposed to muster up the motivation to go to medical school and get my dentist's license if I don't have a really good Halo-themed name lined up?
Very good point. Master Teeth is extremely good. And you've done very well.
Maybe it's called Smiling Flood and you are the Master Teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll fight the plaque. Yeah, that's good.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love it. Well, a spin-off has been created, but before we explore that IP any further, Jack, what is your first thought and your worst thought?
Here we go, Smiling Flood. This is a super secret karate technique that has been passed down in my family for generations. What we do is, as soon as it looks like the situation might get physical in any way, we start crying. If people move away from us, we smile. Eventually, they get the point. The technique is undefeated.
And I've seen him do it, folks, and it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Truly ferocious. He's. I don't think he's a black belt yet, but he's got the technique down.
I got this one thing that I do.
Yeah. You got this one
Karate
thing that you do. You cry so loud and wet.
Yeah.
Such red smile at the same time. It's offensive.
Well,
transition into the smile to indicate that they're no longer a threat.
Yeah, to reward and reinforce them for making the right choice.
Sort of Pavlov.
And then they step forward again and you start crying and they're like, okay, I get it. The perimeter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that you're feeling comfortable to share your, family secrets here on the podcast. It's it's good for the world. So thank you. Well, with those best before yesterdays behind us, it is time to move on to the main submissions, what we call the meat and potatoes. Mitch and Jack have had 24 hours to prepare, so without further ado, Jack, please present your meat and potatoes.
Alrighty, Rube. Smelling Flood. As Mary walks home, she reflects on what has been a complete shit fight of a day. Her reports are late, the rent is overdue, her wife is angry about her mom, who is angry about her neighbor, who is angry about their cat. She's so focused on the myriad trials and tribulations of everyday life, Mary misses the hooded figures in robes pulling themselves out of sewer grates behind her. She doesn't notice as they begin to tail her. She is taken completely by surprise when she is tackled to the ground. She struggles, and in response, more and more figures emerge from the dusk, pinning her to the pavement. With a burst of effort, she frees a hand and claws at her nearest assailant. The hood falls back, and she's met by cold, dead eyes and a wide, manic grin. She screams, and a dozen hands reach out, holding open her mouth. The unhooded figure moves closer, its own jaw opening wide, water trickling over its lips. Mary bucks and writhes, but it is no use. It holds its head above hers, and a wave of brackish, slimy liquid pours into her throat. Mary gets the feeling that she should be horrified by this, that something terrible is happening, something wrong. But as more and more water streams into her lungs, she cares less and less. She feels as though she is floating in the ocean, rocked gently by peaceful waves. All her worries fade to nothing, and she feels a final sense of relief. It feels good. So good, she begins to smile.
Ah!
Maybe we could do a scary one. Maybe it might be good. I thought it was time for us to do a scary one again, and so I presented a scary one for you guys.
Forgot I was recording a podcast. I was like very, very concerned about the viscosity of the fluid. In my mind, this hooded figure just like the fact that you've got it coming out the mouth.
It just feeds her like a bird.
Yeah.
Just throws up this brackish is a great.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want. I mean, I'm not a dentist yet, but
yeah. Okay. Well, just so that I don't, have night terrors, we'll proceed right along to Mitch's meat and potatoes so that we can try to find a silver lining.
Just shake it up. Just let's all just
cloud. All right, Mitch. Oh, Master Teeth, please present your meat and potatoes.
Okay. Friendshire has won the Happiest Town Award 24 years in a row. This year, however, the competition is fierce, and the happy homeowners of Joyville, one town over, are clawing at Friendshire's heels. How far will the Shire folk go to hold on to their trophy? Sabotage isn't out of the question, but what else? The listener and their crew are Happiest Town Awards invigilators investigating the mysterious disappearance of Sad Old Bill, Friendshire's long-lived exception that proved the rule depressed person. The town council swear up and down that Sad Old Bill's gone camping, but the evidence is sketchy at best. And no matter where you go in the town, no matter how serious your questions, everyone keeps smiling. You know what they say, smile and the whole world smiles with you. Well, the folk of Friendshire are smiling so much, your jaw is beginning to ache. But it's a good ache. You feel good. You're happy. This is a happy place. Who are you looking for again? It doesn't matter. Smile. Happy thoughts. Happy.
I think we're going to do a scary one
guys.
I think tonight might be a scary one.
So you guys have done I guess almost the same story from two different perspectives, right?
Well, I think it's clear that what Jack's done is zombies meets scary smileys, and I've done Hot Fuzz meets scary smileys.
Yeah, I think it's like it's like one shade is like a cult thing and the other is a Stefford Wides thing. But I think from just because I heard Jack's first, as I was listening to your story where you're like, we don't know what's happened to Bill, I was like, I fucking know what happened to Bill.
Yeah.
So those guys came out of the sewer and threw up in his mouth.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love the idea that it's like a secret, like the cult actually runs the town. I think that could be really useful and it will help us to develop a bit more of a story. And if we include this overarching motivation of the cult that they're trying to win the friendliest town, that's an easy motivation to give them. They're insane. They just want to be the nicest place in the world.
Yeah, because the more nice people, it's spreading, right? You're spreading it.
Okay, cool. Well, we've definitely got a good scenario. Clearly the kind of setting is interesting. Let's flesh out Friendshire a little bit more, right? Do you want it to be like a quaint English town in modern days, or do you want it to be like a old fashioned kind of what kind of setting do you guys want to do? Because we don't need to do modern.
Yeah, when I was thinking of it, I was sort of imagining it like fairy tale-esque, which I suppose points it towards
Hobbiton,
early European sort of vibes, if that makes sense.
Like the town that Belle from Beauty and the Beast she hangs out in, right?
Yeah, that's sort of the vibe.
Provincial,
kind
of.
We can just say Bree from Lord of the Rings, right? It's just
pretty much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
happier.
Prancing pony?
Happier.
Prancing pony.
Yeah.
But happier.
Much happier.
Well,
or else.
That's exactly right.
So let's think then, in that setting, what kind of conflict can we introduce that's interesting? Because obviously we've got our starting situation. That's the starting threat. And hell, the first act can be learning about these cult members. I love that you're investigating and looking into, you're part of the committee.
Yeah, I didn't want them to necessarily be detectives. I thought it's funnier if they're part of the, like, the town is extra motivated to try and impress them. Like, you know.
I think we pull it back a little bit and they just are part of the like company that runs this competition, right? And so they're like, they don't need a fancy title or anything like that. I feel like they go there, and then we do the thing where like
just checking
maybe it's like your first time checking out a town, and your boss gets vomited if that's what we're doing.
You show up to the town, and the first 30 minutes that you're in town with your boss, he's like, something's fucking off.
This isn't
weird. Right.
Like,
and then he walks away and comes back and he's like, love it here, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And then I feel like once that's turned, it's like you trying to get away, and maybe
so is this a story about like literally trying to leave?
Yeah, it could be that, but maybe like we add another character in there that hasn't been turned, that is like trying to...
You've got to save.
Yeah, save it, or... I don't know, maybe it is just interesting if it's more of like an escape thing.
I mean, I do understand what you're talking about, though, because it's like, can we tell a whole story about just trying to get away? And then once you get away, like, what does that mean? Like, does that mean they're still there? And
I think you need...
come back with more awards.
Something. It doesn't have to be that you are like fighting the town or anything like that.
Yeah,
it could be you meet someone else who like they're trying to get their kids out, or like
what we could make it a vampire thing where you got to find the original, right?
Yeah.
Like, who was the first person to be happy here?
So,
right?
Yeah, part of my idea that I like sort of cut for time was that instead of it being just one cult member, it's like an eldritch being that comes out of the sewer and vomits in her mouth. So like that idea of it being something that they've found that has been spreading.
That's better. I actually think that's better for our story. Yeah, because it's like you can do a lot more with like killing that thing, banishing it, disabling it, attacking it, defending yourself from it, and the scene can escalate more than once. The cult shows up, that's bad.
Yeah.
But this thing shows up, oh my fucking God. Oh God, shit, right? So you can have more to the story about like conflicting with the cult, I feel.
I think it makes sense that like this place was previously a very happy place. So it would make sense for it to attract that sort of being, you know, to lay.
And they wanted this, right? They wanted to be the friendliest place before they became infected. Like that was just something they wanted, right? And they found a way to do it that is blown up very spectacularly in their face.
Yeah.
Well, so do you think that maybe they summoned it?
Yeah, a monkey's paw thing, though. I don't think they would have done like I'm summoning a chthonic beast that will throw up at me. I think it's more that they find a book that's like summon happiness or something. Yeah. You know, and that's what they're trying to do. And then they bring it forth and it's
summon
just this
the smiling
entity.
Flood. You know?
Yeah, exactly. The smiling flood. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, let's open this big door.
Love that.
I love the word smile. Great. And that's as much as I read.
I'm opening it. Sorry, I'm already opening it. What were you saying? Yeah, okay.
There's so many worms in here.
Yeah.
I like that idea of it being a specific, like, do you guys want to make it that it is a summoned beast? Or maybe it's like a person who's been
turned into that. Yeah.
Taken over by this spirit, you know? Maybe the spirit isn't in this plane, but there's like
dentist.
an avatar of, you know?
I like it being, I like the like escalation to like the point of it being something unreal.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than like a person at the end. Like
completely.
Like this feels weird, and then like, oh, I just like maybe you like see them do the thing and you're like, what is up?
Yeah.
And like everyone's off. Everyone's like at that point sort of like hunting you. You feel like, and then you like slowly uncover all this like sort of
you learn that you have to get that one thing,
eldritch shit. And it spirals and spirals and spirals.
So I suppose the first time you see it happen, you see it from like afar.
Maybe it's like hooded and cloaked, and you just see it sort of like spit up on someone,
Yeah. It looks like an old person that they're like walking up.
Feeding that new town visitor like a bird.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, and they just like hold them by their scruff and... Yeah, cool.
So gross.
Okay, cool. I like that. Love the viscous pukage. I'm tempted to start digging into the specifics of the story, but just because we've got kind of a good setup and a bit of a lay of the land, do you think that maybe now would be a good time to introduce a side salad?
Yeah, let's head on over to the side salad station where my mom Claire has put together a cornucopia of freshly picked farm-to-table prompts that we are yet to sample. We're going to pick one at random by spinning this big wheel, and whatever we get, we will add to our meal. Woo! Okay, it's an interesting one. Oh, lovely, a bouquet of poisonous flowers.
Okay.
Maybe it's like toxic, like radioactive almost, like makes you sick in a way that's like poisons you in a way that doesn't require you to eat the fucking bouquet.
You're going to have to eat the bouquet of flowers.
Maybe there's a way to connect the bouquet of flowers with this process of the vomiting thing, because it's like, and you think about that, like poisonous creatures or venomous creatures, are deceptive, bright, colorful, usually appealing, enticing, and then that's when it gets you.
So you think this like creature, this old man looking creature, it turns out to be a creature, is like walking up with a bouquet of roses?
Well, I'm saying maybe like it's not an old man creature. Maybe it's like a very like attractive person that is like a metaphorical bouquet of flowers, but poisonous. Maybe they're a plant monster.
They are a plant monster.
Maybe they're Victory Bell.
I mean, it's not impossible. We've designed a creature of like nebulous.
Yeah.
Maybe it's essentially this creature is a plant, a sentient plant of some kind, and it produces whatever this thing is, right? This liquid is the smiling flood.
Yeah, right? Like mind control.
And at first, the very first person that ate of the smiling flood flower or smelt it or whatever, the flower immediately had their mind and got them to put it into their face.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the flower is the thing, but it's like operating a corpse.
Yeah. Right? It's like connected like a face hugger to the head of this person, and it's like vomiting out of the like.
Yeah, it's just using essentially the bones.
Yeah. Of the town florist.
To walk around. Of the town florist, sure. Yeah.
Gone out, picked a flower. Oh, this one's interesting. Let's have a sniff, and then you're gone.
Exactly. And done. Maybe that can be a part of how we're trying to signal to the hero or the story that we're telling here. Maybe that is how you do come to the conclusion of like, where did this thing start? Where can I find what it's made out of?
Yeah, the base.
You find system. Out that it's the florist was the first one. So you find out it's a plant or something like, so we are kind of telling a story where it's not clear it's a plant at first, right?
Yes.
No.
You think for a while that it's a person.
Yeah.
Right? They're like hooded and robed and like you don't see
humanoid, yeah.
And like whenever you ask, like you see this thing happen and whenever you ask anyone about it, they're like, what do you mean? Like they're all like sort of playing it off. And like that's, I feel like the first sort of act of the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
we need like a tension that requires the hero to be trying to escape or save someone or do something.
That's the point, I think, where we need to sort of flesh out and introduce this second character that's going to be the driving sort of, this is what we're doing in the second act.
Okay, how about this, right? You go with your boss and your boss's kid.
Yeah, okay.
Right? It's their kid and they're like annoying and you're like, oh God, I've got to look after my boss's kid. But as soon as the boss turns, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I love it here. And the kid comes up and says, hey, Dad. And he goes, hello. And he walks away.
Yeah.
right? Because he's gone. He's no longer dad, you know? And maybe at that point, the kid is like, okay, dad. And he goes with him, right? Yeah. And you're like, I probably need to save this kid. But if you ask the dad, hey, I'm going to take the kid, he's going to say no, right?
Yeah.
So now at this point, you would actually have to take the kid.
It would be good if there was a reason why they wanted the kid or whoever that character is. Like a reason for them. Like a sort of a moment of tension with them, right?
Well, they definitely, like, they want, I feel, the protagonist and the kid. And I think it's just a nebulous want to convert everything, kind of like A Quiet Place or something like that, where I guess the tension comes from,
Like, what I'm saying is, like, I don't see why they wouldn't just turn the kid straight away. And so what are you getting? Like, there needs to be a reason why they're not turning it yet, but will.
What if
maybe what we think about
he's
is like
the new body? They're prepping the kid to be the new body.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they're like, he's perfect. He's young. We'll implant him early, and he'll grow into a much more powerful avatar.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
but there'd be kids in the town. I guess is that like, is it all the people in the town, or it's
there
just
are
a few
no
of them?
kids in the town?
It's a kid-free town. That's why they're so happy.
You get vomited, and it makes you sterile.
What about the kids that were there at the time?
There weren't any.
They killed them.
Can't survive it.
Can't.
Just I like that. I think that's fine. You say that there's no kids in the town.
Yeah.
You know, I like that because it's eerie. It's creepy.
It's weird and creepy, yeah.
You know, it's weird. And when your boss leaves and he gets converted, he leaves his kid with you.
Yeah.
Because something's weird. I'm going to go check it out. Can you look after, you know, Rory? And you head off and sit down for a while, and then he comes back and he's like fucking weird.
Yeah.
And you and Rory now need to figure out like how to escape. And Rory is probably going to spend the whole time wanting to save their dad.
Well, I feel like the start of the second act is that they get Rory,
and
it's revealed to you what their plans are for Rory, and you've then got to.
Well, wouldn't that be the second? Like, if we're doing like just breaking down the structure, the second act itself would be trying to get out. You lose Rory.
I suppose, right? Yeah. It's the third act is you lose.
The third act is like, fuck it, I'm going back in for Rory.
To get Rory back.
God, that kid's annoying, but boy howdy could he play Pokemon his Game Boy.
Yeah.
Also, I guess from what I'm telling, they're going to make like a super worm thing out of him. So I'm going to just make sure that they are not captured.
I don't know how you figure that out as a character.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, you stumble into like a lab where they're doing tests on like bodies, right? They're doing like, you like go to the morgue and they're doing tests on bodies to figure out, like, you find a bunch of notes that are like, man, we need someone younger. We need.
Yeah. You start
only we had more kids.
You start with the boss coming back and going, I need to take him.
Yeah.
I need to take him. It's very important I take him.
I need to take the boy. He is my boy. Yes, my boy. I need to take him. Happy.
And then you start going, okay, so there's a clear, whoever they are, they want him. Yeah. So you establish that first. And then you do like a morgue, right? You're running. And then you fall into an underground place that you weren't meant to find, right? And you're looking around and there are notes that are like just the word younger, like underlined and dead corpses and stuff around, you know. Then you would start going, oh my fucking God, oh my God, oh my God. And at that point, you would start to see like some basic drawings and images of plants.
Yeah.
And you would be like, okay,
just keep playing your Game Boy, Rory. Just here's
another couple double A's.
Canto.
So do you stop Rory from going with he who was his dad?
Yeah.
I believe that we tried to do that, yes.
Yeah.
So that you then start running.
You twig that something is immediately off. Or maybe Rory is the one that notices.
He's like, Dad, you're hurting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
It's like very much that like plot line of like you're in a place,
with the plants,
weird shit happens, and then like
big Last of Us vibes. It's like
you've got to escape.
Yeah. And then you nearly escape, and then something happens.
Yeah.
And then you got to go back in.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice.
So this eldritch plant,
mm-hmm.
is it just growing out of the first person, or does it have a source, a root system? Like, is the reason that you fall through into an underground place because like the whole town is full of roots?
So essentially what I'm thinking is that maybe there's a master plant or something, right? But the avatar, right?
Yeah.
Out in the world.
It's like roots and everything have grown right into the skin, and most of the skin and flesh is gone, and it's mostly roots holding onto an old skeleton, and like moving it around. It kind of looks human, but if you look at it, you can immediately tell it's like doesn't really have eyes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have, traditional anything, right?
Yeah.
It's wearing a hooded cloak that is really a lot of bones underneath.
Doing a lot of work. Like, hooded cloak. Doing so much.
The cloak's wearing you, sister. That's what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So we've got this kind of plant skeleton.
Yeah.
Right. The plant skeleton is the avatar. I'm going to use that. Yeah. It is the body that this thing is able to interact with its followers. However, there is a master plant, which gives us the opportunity to burn it, destroy it, do something in a central location that doesn't require us to like kick a tree dude in the head or whatever. Like we can find a plant and burn it. That's good.
And you can have that like moment where you like maybe you get in a fight with the avatar and you like kill it and you're like, oh, it's done. And then you like see another one or something like that. Right. They're just like seedlings. They're like
it's like you'd have to try and obliterate the body in a really spectacular way, and then the roots just like twist and catch each other and then stitch it back together. Right. And you're like, well, shit, I can't even put it into pieces.
Yeah, like you like knock the head off with a baseball bat or something, and like one of the roots like leaps out and grabs it and just like drags it back in, and it's all like
or you like you take an axe to it and like cleave it like right down the middle, and then it just like stitches back up over the axe.
I like that it's a plant.
I
think that's cool. Yeah. I think that it's
it's what?
Yeah, plants are creepy.
Plants are creepy.
Yeah, I've been saying that for ages.
Yeah.
Plants, can't trust them.
So we've got our kind of second act, where we want to save Rory. Rory is taken. We find these lab notes. We find out what they're going to do. We make a final push. We figured out, let's say that the lab is our exposition source, and it does give us tells us where the center is, right? And we fall into that with Rory. Everything happens. They take Rory. You get away, but you're like looking at the exit, and you're like, I can't do it. I got to go back, right? And then where's our final confrontation? Let's walk through that.
I feel like it should be in a greenhouse.
I was going to say a greenhouse.
Yeah, cool. All right,
works
for me.
That's where
That's where plants live.
That's where plants live, Mitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the florist's greenhouse or whatever.
Okay. What if it's how do we make it like a centralized, is it like the church in the middle of the town has been changed into a greenhouse, that sort of thing?
Like a conservatory sort of space in like a manor house.
It has to be hidden, right? Like, what am I talking about? It has to be kind of secreted away a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like it's I think you're on the right track there, Mitch. It's like a Edward Scissorhands like mansion at the top of the hill kind of deal.
Okay.
Something like that.
Cool. We got like a creepy mansion at the top of the house that has a surprisingly large greenhouse out the back. So we learned that the mansion at the top of the hill, the florist's house, right? Maybe it's not a mansion so much as it's like a creepy house at the top of the hill,
sort of thing.
And the reason that all the gardening shit is there is because it's the florist's house. That's where the florist lives. It's a floristry. It's, I've driven by, a place, orchards. Is it orchard? What would you call a flower place?
It's there's
have a greenhouse.
It doesn't have to be florist. I feel like is underselling this person. They can be like someone who's like just really interested in plants, right? Like a sort of crazy old
hobby gardener
scientist.
Sure, you can make it picking back up on Sad Old Bill. It could be Sad Old Bill, and he was a hobbyist pumpkin grower, right?
Sure.
He like to enter himself into market festivals. It doesn't really matter, but I like that as a sentiment. It means that he does have a greenhouse. He has a fairly reasonable home that no one's going to immediately assess for this is the cause of everything that's happening. Yeah. You know, it's a little bit more humble. It looks a little less like it is out of control. And then you go to this place and the greenhouse explodes and the flower comes to life and it's fighting you out of the broken glass and carnage of the exploded greenhouse. Okay, well, in terms of the penultimate, that's not the final. In terms of the penultimate fight, the one before the ultimate fight, we do need to figure out like how we're going to interact with the like plant avatar. Like, do we have a moment where we kill that thing in this fight, and then that's when the plant erupts? Like, you kill it, you're like, haha, I got you, and then the plant erupts.
You're like in the house or something, and that
or like in the street. It's like it's trying to stop you from getting into Bill's house. You fight it there.
Hell, no, both. You walk in from the street and they're like in this house and you have to fucking fight your way through a house and into the backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of house are we thinking? Because again, it was like medieval provincial town kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's not like we're busting through someone's study.
Maybe we are. Because then we're thinking like there's a lab and stuff, you know?
I've been thinking of like Hot Fuzz the whole time, rather than it being medieval.
Switch it up. We did nothing that was required to stay in like a provincial whatever. I
do think it's modern times. It's not necessarily like in a city.
Yeah.
Like it is like a sort of
it's rural, sort of regional country town.
Well, I like that then because then you can just like fight through a living room.
Yeah.
And it's like the living room itself has been like it's not homey anymore. It used to be Sad Old Bill's house, right? But now it's like a cult location. Yeah. So there's like all his old easy chairs and stuff, but there's also weird candles and a bunch of dudes in robes.
Yeah, I like that.
And you're like fighting through and then you finally kill the whatever and you're like, I did it. And then like you fight them and you fight them and you fight them and you're out in the backyard and you're fighting them and you finally put like a big wooden stake through their fucking heart or whatever, right? You're like, oh God, it stopped moving. I think I won. Right. And then the greenhouse literally just explodes in glass and vines. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're fighting like a poison ivy villain at the end.
Yeah.
What are we again? Are we a warrior or a journalist?
We're like a journalist.
we're like a invigilator.
We work for like a hobby magazine.
we like journalist. I think makes sense where you're going to like
like a lifestyle
you work for the newspaper
magazine
that awards.
But I kind of like that. Like I like that about those sorts of stories where it's like someone ridiculously mundane is like thrown into that situation and just like figures it out.
You know, you're going down to cover the world's happiest town.
You're essentially a claims adjuster.
Yeah.
Who's just like rocked up and you're like, I gotta save this fucking kid. From Biolante.
I do feel from Biolante. Deep cut. I feel like maybe it makes it smoother. Maybe, and like not exactly how we've laid it out, but maybe there is more emotional connection if it is your kid.
Okay, and what if it's your spouse? Like you had the woman and her wife. Like what if it's your wife gets turned first and it's your kid and you and your kid have to work together to save your family.
Yeah, your family. Yeah,
right?
Like
because
that.
At first it'll be running away, but then you'll be like, we need to figure out how to get mum out.
Yeah.
Right? And then as they learn more and more, it'll be, oh God, they're coming for you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
I like
All right.
Yeah.
I think that irons things out a little bit. I think it might be time for us to pick a scene within our terrible tale here to flesh out into a fully produced radio play segment. What are we thinking in terms of scene selection?
Someone's mouth has got to get vomited in. You know?
I mean, Jack's done all this work.
But Jack, you did do a good amount of very graphic describing that earlier on. You want to go again
this time? You know?
Okay.
Gotta come out of the plant.
That's Jack. Jack's voting for some kind of puke-based content, as normal.
Always good.
The one, like, there's obviously the end. And we always try and steer away from the end, but there is the end, right? Because this is a fairly bombastic ending. There's also right before the end, moving through the house. We've talked a lot about the lab,
that sort of lab and that moment of realization and exposition. There's a lot of meat.
Maybe there could be
in there.
A conflict with your wife in the lab.
Yeah, okay, that works for me. Yeah, and that's when Rory gets taken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So the mum takes Rory.
Yeah.
Right? That's all our stuff in a scene.
Yeah.
That's all the elements that we need, right?
Someone gets their face vomited in, then...
Okay, cool. I really like that. I think that we've got a heck of a tale here. Without any further ado, I think we should step on through to the plate up.
Let's do it.
Plate of blood!
You gasp for air as you lead Rory by the hand through a maze of quaint cobblestone streets. You think the main bulk of cultists are a couple of rows of houses behind you, but every now and then another pops out behind a corner and you're forced in another direction. All you can hear is rhythmic chanting, and all you can smell is the dark, rancid odor of rotting plant matter. Rory is whimpering behind you, but you keep pulling on her hand, dragging her more and more forcefully as you feel the cultists close in. Finally, you think you've been forced into a dead end, and you turn to face your assailants in a desperate last stand before you feel a tug at your sleeve. "Mum, quick, this way!" You glance behind you and spot Rory squeezing into a sewer grate at the curb. You follow, rolling through just as you see the mob's flickering torchlight bend around the corner. You land in a large pipe, just tall enough to stand at a crouch. You hear the rumble of voices in the street above you and grab Rory, planting your hand over her mouth, desperately trying to muffle any hint of sound. A few tense moments pass with your arms wrapped around your daughter, and then, finally, you hear the mob above you begin to move away, recommencing their search. Another couple of seconds pass, and Rory taps you lightly on your shoulder. "Mum, they're gone." Somewhat reluctantly, you release her, and she straightens her jacket and turns, heading off down the pipe. She's leading you now, and you follow, half walking, half crawling in her wake. Eventually, the ceiling begins to level out, and you spot a door at the end of the pipe, a flickering fluorescent light above it, illuminating a plaque that reads, Lab 1.
The lab reeks of musty growth, old wood forests and rotting plant matter, and other rotting things, meat, bodies. You hold Rory close, hand tied on her shoulder. Look up, don't look down. Down, just below your eye line, is where the bodies lay in their corrupted repose. You keep your chin up and look around. Your eyes are drawn to an old blackboard. On it, a labyrinthine puzzle of scrawled chalk ravings. Different hands have clearly written over each other with no thought for erasing ideas. Layers upon layers of mad etchings coalesce into a single word that makes your heart stop. Younger. You grip Rory tight. She's shaking ever so slightly, and you follow her gaze to where an old monitor replays jumpy, jolting footage in black and white. You glance up into the corner of the room at the camera. Dead now. Dead after filming what were the last moments of one of those bodies. The moments now playing in flickers and flashes on the screen. Don't look, you whisper. But it's too late. Far too late. You stare in horror as a hooded being leans close over a thrashing body. You watch the drip and drool spill out as the thrashing slows, stops. An alien smile stretches wide on the face as the hooded figure moves and begins experimenting. A shiver down your spine. The film loops. You can't look away. You pull Rory close into your chest. Try to breathe. Stand there in this terrible place and close your eyes. A new smell hits you. Familiar. Desperately wanted in this dank sewer tomb. Sweet elderflower perfume. Her perfume. choke out a sob and look up over the bodies into those goddamn baby blue eyes you know so well, and that terrible smile you don't.
Mum!
Rory makes to sprint toward your wife, your partner, your soulmate. You thrust an arm out stiffly, guarding Rory from your beloved.
Child, come to me.
Your wife's voice is wrong, tense, strained as it snakes forth from a contorted Cheshire smile. I won't let you take Rory! You stand in front of your child, ready to fight your brainwashed betrothed.
Mum? What's happening?
You pick up a metal pipe that lays amidst the chaotic detritus of this carnage-laden lab. You wield it forwards, threateningly, warding off your one true love. Your knuckles whiten as you grip the steel. You will protect your child, no matter the cost. From behind your sickeningly besmiled spouse emerges another twisted grin. And another. And then another. Soon, you're wielding a pipe against a room full of hyena-mouthed maniacs. You throw the pipe at one of them, then grab Rory and run. You run, and run for all you're worth. Behind you, the frantic footfalls of a mass of mindless, malevolent mirth makers. You're doing well, but then you slip. Those toothy jackals descend on you like locusts, swarming you, too many of them to fight. You cling to Rory, but they tear your child from you, and as you kick and scream, you fall from the catwalk above. The last thing you see before the water takes you is your corrupted wife, stealing your child, watching you fall, smiling, ear to ear.
This is too spooky. And now
That's
I
our
can't
comedy podcast.
Did we go too spooky?
This is too creepy crawly, Freaky Friday.
Well, we have to play in this space and allow ourselves to try new ingredients here in the Hookah Kitchen. And if it turns out that we're sick of everything tasting like cinnamon because we just bought cinnamon, we put way too much cinnamon in, and now the whole thing is like eating just raw cinnamon.
Sometimes you got to throw a bit of brackish slime in there, right?
Sometimes brackish slime is going to go off, and you need to use it.
Use it,
like,
man.
You just got to get it because otherwise it's just going to go bad in the fridge. And
Exactly. You didn't buy the brackish slime to not use the brackish slime. It has been a slimy one here in the Hookah Kitchen. Thank you for joining us here. If you have a prompt that you would like us to turn into an episode, shoot that through to cooksofhooks@gmail.com or use @hook_cooks for the socials.
That's right. If you enjoyed the meal we cooked up in the kitchen tonight, please feel free to tell your friends, like, subscribe, give us a review, and vomit into people's mouths. Like, why not, right?
Of convincing someone to do something.
For coercion. Thank you. And thank you to Halisna, who we thank for our opening theme, Sailing Away. And of course, as always, thank you to Jack's mum.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
I have been Connor, your larder critter.
My name is Dishbot, and tonight I played the role of Jack.
And I am Mitch the Monster Chef. Thank you so much for listening. Are we happy, boys?
Yeah.
Let's see those smiles.
The smiling flood.
The smiling flood, yeah.
Where you...
The happiest of endings.
Here it comes, babe. The smiling flood.
It's going to make you smile. It's going to make everyone smile.
Now, I've been told I need to handle this like a fire hose.